Hello, everyone. I want to welcome you to my channel. I'm sure it'll start very, very small, but hopefully it will grow. And the purpose of this channel is really to work with students who are working on their English skills, mostly intermediate, advanced students that don't find online information that can help them really to advance their skills. So this first video is going to be about why textbooks don't work. And I'm sure you all have used textbooks for years, years and years in the classroom and have done a lot of these boring exercises and you've realized that they don't work. So a lot of people are turning to platforms, learning platforms, so they can find tutors online. And this is really a great way to get one-on-one instruction. So what you need really is this one-on-one instruction, but you also need input. Okay, so what we're talking about is input, getting the best input possible. I'm going to make another video about this, about input, output. But in general, you need the best input possible so that you can get the best output possible. So the question today is, why don't textbooks work when we're trying to learn English, when we're trying to learn any language? And so we're going to look at some different aspects here. First of all, in textbooks, we know that the language is not real. It's been created for the classroom, right? Somebody has put together this material in a nice packaged way so that you can digest it nice and easy, right? But this language is out of context. I remember when I was a student and I was learning Canadian French, but they would give us textbooks that were from France and all the examples were from France. So it was kind of out of context for us. The conversations are fake, right? They don't seem like real people talking about real things. It's also too clean. There's no accents, there's no colloquialism, there's no none of that richness that of the local language or of different local languages, right? Or versions of the same language. And we don't have bad words. That always is always a problem. They always say the first thing I learned when I went to a new country was bad words. Well, it's because, bad words are part of the language, so you basically need them. And also there's a lot of repetition. So there's constant repetition and these like really boring exercises that, you've all done them. Conjugate this verb and you start doing it basically mechanically. Then we also have a situation where then the teacher and the students become zombies, right? You're just like, turn to page 5, do exercise number 3, stay quiet, right? And this is really not conducive to language, right? But it does make students easier to control. It makes it a lot easier for testing. So for evaluation, you have we did this unit, we did unit 1 and 2, and the test is going to be on unit 1 and 2, right? So the students know what to expect, the teachers know what to grade. And also they can do a lot better, lesson planning, like day, week, year planning. The school can do their planning. A department can do their planning, right? And then also when it comes to teacher training, you send all the teachers to training to do for a new textbook. The publishers of the textbook often pay for that training. So for the schools, it's like win-win, great. But why doesn't it work then? Because many people around the world have been spending years and years of their life in this kind of situation, right? It doesn't work because it's not the way we learn language. The way we learn language is much more like the first language. We need something, we want some milk, some juice from our mother. We learn how to ask for it, right? And and my point here is that real language is kind of messy. We kind of learn it here and there and through need, and it's not meant to be packaged up, right? So uh I with my students I usually use the example of gamers. Gamers all from all over the world usually have a really high level of English. Why? Because they want to play video games. They play video games with people from all around the world. English is one of the languages that a lot of video games are in, or they come out in English first. So it's basically you see it's need. They have the need, and so they find the way to satisfy their need. right? And communicating. And then at the same time, when they're playing with other gamers around the world, they're hearing stories, they're telling stories, they're talking about their lives, right? So this is a real interaction with other people, with native speakers, especially. And there's a need, there's a motivation, and that's where you get, real language learning. And exchange students, we all know what happens with exchange students. They're young, they go to another country, they have the necessity to learn, so they learn, right? As long as they don't have people, too many people around them from their own culture. Same with newcomers. Newcomers to immigrants um, to a new country. Here in Canada, we tend to call them newcomers. And these newcomers, as long as again they don't have a really really big group of people from their own country, then they will learn the language quite well out of necessity. You have to take the bus to go to the doctor. You have to take the bus to go get groceries or go to work, and at work you have to converse with other people. So one of the ways that I teach language to my students is using authentic resources. So an authentic resource is, for example, a song, right? A song like the very very famous song "My Way" by Paul Anka, who is also Canadian, and famously sung by Frank Sinatra. And so I present this song to my students. I say, look, let's decipher the song. So we're just going to look right now at the first stanza, basically the first part, and stanzas in poetry, but we're going to look at the first part of the song, and we're going to look at, what is it saying here? Why should I use real resources to learn English? Well, like here it says, and now the end is near. So first you have to say, what end? Why is the end near? What's going on? And so I face the final curtain. So you say, okay, the final curtain. That this is the final curtain is an expression, and so here this is a metaphor, right? So right away your brain is working harder and trying to understand what's going on. Really, really great for intermediate students, advanced students, right? My friend, I'll say it clear. I'll state my case. This is a legal, uh, a, a legal expression, right? To state your case, right? And of which I'm certain. So I'm sure of this, right? I've lived a life that's full. Okay, now we're getting to the reason. Okay, it sounds like he's at the end of his life or he's older, right? I've lived a life that's full. Living a full life is another expression that we use in English. I traveled each and every highway, another metaphor, right? And more, much more than this, I did it my way, right? So now we're starting to get to the real meaning of it. So what a student can do is they can look at a song like this. They can look up the words in the dictionary. They can try to figure out what the metaphors mean. In the end, there's a really clear message, and that's amazing because it really brings the student into the material. It's motivating, right? Because you have a message. You learn, oh, I can look up who is Frank Sinatra, who is Paul Anka, right? And then you get cultural context that later on you can use in a conversation. So you can see that this is so much better. Studying a song like this gives you so much more than doing some several pages of exercises in a textbook. Why does this happen then? If it's much better to learn a language through authentic resources, why does this happen? Well, I'll tell you why it happens. It happens because of money, right? It's always follow the money, follow the money, of course, right? Follow the money. And with textbooks, a lot of language schools can sell you the service, which is giving you the classes, and they can sell you goods, which is, of course, the textbooks. So you're buying both from that, right? You're buying the service of the classes and the textbooks, right? That's double the money for them. It's also cheaper, of course. It's cheaper staffing if you can put people together. You put groups of 20 or 30 people, right? Which makes for higher profits. Sometimes even just 4 or 5 people in some cases, right? Of like language schools. But still, you're paying one teacher, and all those 4 or 5 students are paying their fees and buying their textbooks, right? Um, there's also a lack of interest I find in the part of governments to really put the resources forward. I think it's because I think governments do know that we're talking about schools, all the way from kindergarten all the way, all the way up to higher education, they know how many resources it would take and how much money it would take to really do language education well. And they're not really willing to put that kind of effort, right? And so now, so it's up to the individual to put that effort into, right? And there's also maybe a lack of interest in actually getting a large number of the population to a certain competency in a language. Like there's always, it's hard to, it's hard to, let's say, um, understand this reality, but governments need people that are less educated. They need only some people that are more educated, you see. So I think there's a lack of interest definitely in putting money towards getting a whole population uh, it, speaking English, where those people are then going to be demanding better jobs, basically, you know. Um, so that's the situation. So what I'm explaining basically is that it's up to you. It's up to you as the student to really take the reins in your own future. And after you kind of understand the ropes more or less with English, you understand what English is about, to throw yourself into authentic resources. Really, really go for it. Study songs and poems and short stories and videos on YouTube and anything that you can get your hands on, right? In English. And today you can get your hands on so many authentic resources. And then it's up to you really, to push your learning forward, because as you can see, nobody's going to do it for you. What they might offer you at your place of work, or at language schools, or in government, is these group classes, right? So you really have to do it for yourself. So what this channel is going to do is, I'm going to be taking these resources. So I'm going to be choosing songs, poems, stories, letters, anything that I think is going to be worthwhile for the intermediate and advanced student. And we're going to look at them together, right? We're going to look at them, we're going to cut tear them apart and see, like, what is the cultural significance here? What are the words? Maybe some new words for you, right? If you watch these videos consistently, and also have a tutor where you can do the output part, right? I can help you with the input part. But if you have a tutor for the output part, basically you're putting the two together, right? And that way you're pushing your learning further. So I hope you follow me, and I'm going to be uploading lots of videos to help you out. And thank you very much for coming to the channel.